All right, so I'm outside of a 2019 Honda Fit, and this is the sport model. So from the front of the car, you can notice that it has a little bit of a body kit going here. And then on the sides of the car, you'll notice it has the body kit too, along with a black alloy wheel. Now I'm sitting right next to an LX model. So if you wanted to get an idea for what the differences are, my grille setup, you'll notice I don't have the fog lights in this vehicle versus I do in my sport. And then I don't have quite that sport finish to it. It's the same car as far as mechanics goes to the car, but you can see I have a steel wheel with a hubcap cover versus an alloy wheel. I have a body kit that adds a little bit of a profile look to it, and then just a standard classic look. Now the interior of the LX is a classic cloth. The cloth interior on this car is going to have some orange stitching to it, so a little bit sportier look to it. But I'll touch on the interior here a little bit more in a second. So in the back of the car, let's pop it open and show you some things. So the first thing I point out is I got the seats folded down, so you can see I've got a good amount of space to work with, and this is super flat, so it's a lot easier if you're camping and things go awry or something of that nature. So I'll fold the seats up here in a second to show you, but first thing I'll show you is your jack and all your accessories. I've got that here along with my spare tire below. It's nice to know that this car has a spare. All Hondas have spares except for your hybrid models, so just something to keep in mind in case you're in a highly, I'll say, trafficked area and you're worried about running something over. Some small points you can touch out on. Right here, you'll notice the VIN is marked. So the VIN's gonna be marked somewhere, several places around the car, so it's just kind of nice to know. Another way, if you're buying a used one, you could tell if there was body work done to it. So let's pop open the back, and I'm gonna flip those seats up so you can see what you're working with, and then we'll go back to the back and I'll show you more cargo space. So, in this vehicle, first thing I'll point out is you saw that you could fold the seats down. What a lot of people don't know is that you can fold your seats up. This is one of two vehicles that does this. So if I have potted plants, if I had a mirror, if I had a dog that got super muddy out at Town Lake or somewhere, I could fold these up and be able to throw it in. Or if I had a bicycle, I can load it right in that way. So cool car. Only two of my vehicles do this, the Honda Fit and the Honda HR-V. So let's go back to the back just so you can see what my cargo space was. So you can still see I've got a good amount of cargo space even with the seats up. Now you can see I can recline them. So if you want a little bit of a reclined seat, you've got that right here. So I have one all the way up, one reclined back a little bit. So easy to understand there. All right, so you can see the sport finish on the trim as far as here, along within the seats. That look I've got going to it. So cloth interior, you'd have to climb to an EXL to get leather. So let's hop up in the driver's side and we'll show you some different features. So the first thing I want to point out is on your driver's side, I've got my auto up and down window controls. So as far as my driver's side, along with powered on the rest, my door locks, my window locks, and then my mirror controls left and right. So I can adjust that there. Now down below, I'm going to point out a couple things. The first is vehicle stability assist. This works with your traction control. So in the event that you go into a skid, it'll transfer power to whichever wheel is getting better traction to help correct for that. So this is always on unless I press and hold. It takes me a couple seconds to turn it off, and then you'll see that it's off with the indicator right here. To turn it back on, couple seconds, and it's back on. Now above that is my Econ button. Regularly I get asked about this button. So what this does is it improves gas mileage of the car, but in doing so, you're gonna give up some of the power off the accelerator, and your AC controls aren't gonna work quite as well, so something to keep in mind. What it does is it shuts down some of the electrical systems in the front of the car, affecting other things, but the two that would be noticeable to you as the driver would be those two features. Now above that is one of the classic things of the Honda Fit that a lot of people love. That is the cup holder up nice and high. It's right by your air vent. So in the event that you have the heat on, it'll keep your coffee hot in the winter. If you got a cold drink in there because it's summer, this will keep it cooled off and nice for you there too. So super cool. This has been indicative of the Fit for a long time. Now on my steering wheel, it is a sport, so I do have a leather finish to it, so it's kind of nice. Down here, I'll point out a couple different features. The first I'll start off is my Bluetooth controls. They're underneath, they're triggers that I pull towards me. So to answer a phone call, to hang up a phone call or go back, and then my voice command button. This voice command button will also correlate with my Honda, or excuse me, not Honda Sensing, but Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is gonna be right over here on the touchscreen, and I'll touch on that in just a second. So my menu button right here is going to depend on what I have pulled up. So that's what this button is. So if I have my audio pulled up, and I'll pull up some FM, so I've got FM running over here. If I hit that menu button, it's going to pull up some quick options that I have over here. So whether I want to scan, preset, seek, do things like that, I can do it off the steering wheel without having to mess with the touchscreen. So that's the purpose of this button. Now my source button is going to switch between my options. So whether I want FM, AM, right now you can see a toggle between those two. If I had Bluetooth hooked up, it would give me that option. If I had a USB connected up, it would give me that option. So this is going to be able to quick toggle between whatever source you want to listen to audio wise. Now your volume controls are right there, plus and minus. And then you saw when I press my left and right, that's jumping between my tracks, or excuse me, in my FM or AM, it'll jump between my favorite stations. So that's how this function works. Now, Above that, there is a button right here, and you'll see it. And this is a quick jump between my Bluetooth and my audio. So if you need to jump over to make a phone call, bam, I can get into that and quickly get to it. So that's what the purpose of this is. Now, we are in a sport model, so you will see paddle shifters in the vehicle. I've got a minus on this side and a plus on that side. The point of paddle shifters is give you some additional control over your vehicle as far as the performance goes. So I can upshift or I can downshift the vehicle. So they're great. They're there if you want to use them, but you don't necessarily have to. Now, on the left side, I do have auto on-off headlights, and my controls are right there to set it to auto. They'll adjust for me, turn on and off, and I don't ever have to mess with it. And then my fog light controls are right below that, so whether they're on with the hash mark or off. Now, on the other side is me, my windshield wiper controls. To do the front, just pull down, and those throw on. To do the back, just adjust off the knob, and you can adjust your back, right? Your center cluster is pretty self-explanatory and easy to understand. I've got a tachometer, I've got my speedometer, and then over here, I've got my gas gauge down at the bottom. You can see I'm completely full, my temperature, my mileage, so general stuff like this. Above, you have a gauge here that while you're driving, it'll give you instantaneous gas mileage as far as if you kept that speed, that style of driving, what you should be getting. Over on the dash, you'll see I do have if I need to throw my flashers on, they're right there and easy to access. It is a key start. Like I said, you'll notice where the push button start would be if I climbed up a couple models. So if you jump up to an EX or something of that nature, that's where that will land. Now this car does have the touchscreen, which is really cool. The touchscreen gives you a couple different options. First off, it gives you access to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which if I plug my phone into the USB, the picture of the one right there with the phone on it, it will pull up. So if you're an Apple-based user, all you got to do is plug in. This will light up, say Apple Max selected. It'll give you access to navigation, music, messages, and more. So Spotify, Pandora, WhatsApp, a lot of different functions. If you're an Android-based user, you're going to need to download the Android Auto app. 100% free. Once you've done so, same thing. It'll light up. You'll be able to select it. Now let's touch base on audio options. So I'm going to jump into source here, and this will pull them up. So I've got FM, I've got AM, I've got USBs, so I could plug in like a thumb drive down there if I wanted to, and have a lot of music saved to it. The one thing I'll point out you don't have is a CD player. So be aware of that. Almost none of my vehicles have them now. If I have an iPod, I can wirelessly connect up via Bluetooth, or I can plug into the USB. Pretty much anything with an i will work with a lot of other devices too. Now, Bluetooth, as far as wirelessly connecting up, yes, I can listen to audio off my phone along with receive phone calls too, so it's not just one or the other. The car is Pandora compatible, so in this instance, I can connect up wirelessly. It'll give me access to my different stations, liking tracks, jumping around from that standpoint. Now, if I want to go Spotify or something of that nature, I have access to both. No big deal, man. Just jump back over, use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You'll have access to both. So that's just what's going on from that standpoint. Now, my info button is going to pull up like tripometer information. So if I want to see current and previous trips or how many miles I have on this tank of gas, that's what the purpose of this screen is. Now, if I jump into the menu, I can pull up like a wallpaper if I want, and I can even load my own personal image right there. So if I love my dogs, love my grandkids, whatever it may be, I can go from right there. And then it would pull into here if I want to do so. Go to next, load in a PNG or a JPEG into a USB down there. I could jump over to wallpaper and add it. So that's how you do it. If you have questions about that, I've made a video on it. Now, Honda Link is a really cool feature. What this is set up for is, depending on the level of the car, no matter what, you're going to get maintenance notices and recall notices, but you can additionally be set up to be able to access things like my door locks from my phone, or be able to start the car from my phone, depending on the trim level and the model. To check out what cars are available for this, just go to HondaLink.com. Now, one other feature I will point out, and this is in every single one of my cars too, and it's 100% free through Honda Link. If I get in an accident and my airbags deploy, first Honda can call me. If I don't answer, they can call 911 for me to send out somebody. 100% free. Take advantage of this. It's super simple. Now, my phone, if I want to connect up a phone, how to do so, press it. It'll pull up the options. Hit yes, I want to search for a phone, and then go from there. Turn on your Bluetooth. Now, let's say I've already added a phone, so I don't have this screen that pulls up. I want to add a secondary or third phone. If I go to settings right here, I want to go to the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi button. From here, I want to go to the device list because I want to add something to that device list. And then down here at the bottom, hit that, and then same prompts, turn your Bluetooth on and search. So that's how you add a second or third phone. Now, under the settings are some other features you'll want to know about. If you bought a car from me, then I probably touched on these. If not, no big deal. I'm still going to show you how some of these different things work. So as far as adjusting your clock, pretty simple to do. You can jump right here and do it, or you can just press and hold your finger on the clock button. Some other things in the settings that you may or may not want to play with. Under system, there's a few different things you can touch on. Home screen order, if you want to adjust something like that. If you want to change the background color, guidance, volume, different things like that. So different things you can play with. If I don't want it to beep whenever I touch buttons, I can set that up from here too. So just some general stuff you can have fun with. Other than that, pretty easy to understand. All right, so that's the touchscreen. Your AC controls are pretty self-explanatory. Hot or cold, where I want the air to go, and how much air. Down below that, I've got whether I want to recycle, use my rear defrost, and then of course turn the AC on or off. I've got a power outlet down there and a USB. I've got cup holders along with storage. I've got cup holders in my doors too, so I'll just point that out. You got lots of places to put cups in this car. You'll see it does have a leather shifter with my stitching for the Sport, and then I've got a chrome finish around it. Standard emergency brake, and then a center console that does open, and I have storage along with another USB and power outlet in it. This car has 6 airbags, so I've got 2 front, 2 side, 2 full curtain that'll roll out of right here. So 5-star crash rating overall. It's a great car to be in. Even though it's small on the road, it still is going to protect your family or your loved ones, whoever's in the vehicle. So that's a quick rundown of the Sport model. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can always call me at 512-443-4300. You can always comment on the YouTube video. I'm more than happy to respond to you that way and get your questions answered. Or you can email me at the letter J and then Fuller, Fuller, @howdyhonda.com.